suspected pirates are in custody tonight after they fire on a U.S. Navy warship off the Horn of Africa.
Being taken hostage was something sailors rarely talked about. Anything, even a shipwreck, is better. Those are the words of a captain who knew the dangers of the sea very well. We'll share his story in today's video. But in his story, and the rest we'll look at today, it wasn't the sailors who were in danger. In these tales, the Somali pirates weren't the hunters, they were the hunted. Here's what happens when you mess with the wrong ship, especially one that the United States Navy protects. Spoiler alert, the outcome is quick, harsh, and unforgettable. And for some, it was the last lesson they ever learned. Captain Phillips and the Maersk Alabama. In April 2009, a 508-foot-long vessel known as the Maersk Alabama was carrying 23 crew members and 17,000 metric tons of cargo. The ship was sailing on the Somali basin from Salalah in Oman to Mombasa, Kenya, with a brief stop in Djibouti. This cargo vessel was not a regular one. It was crucial to so many people. On it were more than 400 containers carrying 8,000 metric tons of food aid belonging to the USAID, the World Food Program, Serving God Ministries, and Catholic Relief Services. After getting to its destination, the food aid would be dispersed to help Ugandans, Somalis, and Somali refugees in Kenya, as well as other starving refugees in Rwanda and other East African countries. The journey promised perils since the ship had to sail through the Gulf of Aden on the Somali coast, a region well known for its infestation of pirates who attack, hijack, and extort ships. The crew members already knew of the dangers associated with their journey. They had been informed of the route's notoriety and how it was patrolled by pirates. Hence, they received training from Union training schools on using small arms, basic safety techniques, anti-terror training, first aid, and other related courses. A day before they crossed the perilous region, they had a drill on the Maersk Alabama to prepare themselves for the grimest possibilities. In control of this ship is Captain Richard Phillips, a veteran sailor with 30 years of experience sailing through both calm and treacherous waters. A less experienced sailor may quickly panic at the thought of what was to come, but not Captain Phillips. Instead, he remained vigilant, checking out for crucial signs. When boarding the Maersk Alabama on the shores of Salalah in Oman, he noticed the troubling lack of security. The authorities had not designated sufficient personnel required for a hitch-free journey, especially when traveling through such unsettling regions. So, he alerted his crew and reminded them of their training. Despite the warnings and subsequent preparations, those on board the Maersk Alabama were in for the surprise of their lives. Prior to their historic journey, the pirates had not had success seizing a ship flying the flag of the United States since the beginning of the 19th century. The last time pirates could pull off a hijack was in 1815, during the Second Barbary War. But all that was about to change. History was about to be rewritten. The Dance of the Pirates. On April 8, 2009, Maersk Alabama was cutting through the troubled waters 280 miles southeast of Isle Somalia. The attack was pretty swift and early in the morning, with the pirates already controlling the vessel as early as 7:35 a.m. Between 6 and 7 that morning, they received multiple warnings, including from the pirates. Captain Phillips was asleep on his bunk when a call came in from the second mate. "Cap, I think you better get up here. Somali pirates. They're talking on the radio." The captain rushed to the bridge, and the warning rang out again before he could say anything. "This is Somali pirate. I'm coming to get you." They weren't bluffing. On the ship's starboard, the pirate's boat was already visible. It appeared about 7 miles away, with the light blazing like any small fishing boat. Quickly, the captain picked up the binoculars and saw that the pirates had 2 boats tied together through the stern. However, something sinister was at play. Captain Phillips said he observed the pirates for 30 minutes, but they were not coming after the vessel. Strange, he thought. and with there appearing to be no immediate danger, he went back into the room to lay down. Then, another call came in. Boat approaching, 3.1 mile out, astern. This time, they could see two white skiffs approaching. It was about 40 feet long and was powered by a fast outboard engine. Immediately, the calm sea was thrown into chaos as the captain ordered that the alarm be sounded and every crew member be stationed at their muster point. The alarms blasted through the open sea, harsh and unsettling to anyone close enough. On the radar, they could see the two white skiffs drawing closer at an alarming rate. As they got closer, the captain and others aboard the Maersk Alabama could see 4 young men on the pirates' boats. They were armed with AK-47s and appeared ready to cause havoc. The Maersk Alabama crew had to repel the pirates, so the captain, pointing to the pyrotechnics, issued an order. Get ready to start shooting those flares. Fire when they get within a mile. Aim directly at them. The third mate also ordered his men to hit the lights and keep the fire pump going. All these were supposed to ward off the pirates, signaling to them that this ship was no easy target, but they would not turn away. Now, Captain Phillips and the others could see the men up close as their boats rocked above the rocking waves. They were determined to see their plan all the way through. By 7:35, they were already on board the Maersk Alabama, needing barely 5 minutes to climb on. The leader of the pirates was the first to get on deck. He had his AK-47, which he shot into the air before attempting to make a conversation. "Relax, Captain. Business, just business. Stop the ship," he yelled. But the captain was already relaxed. While his heart was beating the fastest it had ever done, he appeared calm on the outside, trying not to give any advantage to the pirates. Captain Phillips offered the pirates a light refreshment in the form of water and cigarettes. This was a deliberate attempt to calm things down and look for any advantage they could leverage while slowing the pirates down until the rescue troops arrived. The move was effective. Although the pirates continued yelling, they were asking questions this time, attempting to get an advantage of their own. The group leader inquired about who was on board and the vessel's plans. Meanwhile, their eyes were already on the American flag flying around the corner. They were aware the flag wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was a sign of the ship's great value, and they knew securing it meant a huge payday. The pirates understood how things work. According to them, they target and seize multiple ships every day. Still, most of them do not yield any profit because no one is interested in coming to rescue a third world country ship with an African or Indian crew on board. A Western country's ship was good business, and they likened it to winning a lottery jackpot. So, they were determined to seize this ship at all costs to squeeze out as much ransom as possible from the rescuers. However, what the Somali pirates didn't factor into their equation was how robust the rescue operation could be. They were about to learn hard-hitting lessons. The crew's bravery. As the situation unraveled on the Maersk Alabama, a nearby Navy SEAL team was alerted, and their involvement would eventually spell trouble for the pirates. Not only would this team of elite special forces snatch away the lottery ticket from the Somali pirates, but they would ensure it was the last lottery they ever played. But before the Navy forces arrived, Captain Phillips and his crew were already putting the pirates to tedious work, rendering their hijack useless. First, the captain led the pirates away from the rest of his crew while inquiring what they wanted. "We need money. We can't leave without money," one of the pirates said. The captain stalled as much as he could, knowing that help was coming and every passing minute could be crucial to saving their lives and capturing the pirates. He eventually offered them $30,000. "I have $30,000 in my room. You can have it if you leave the ship," he said. This didn't look like an excellent deal for the pirates. They wanted millions, not a few $1,000s. But they were quickly losing all their bargaining chips. The other crew members were already carrying out a plan that would see their advantage suddenly vanish. They had captured the group's leader, Abduwali Muse, but they didn't stop there. Around 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, the voice of the vessel's chief engineer, Mike Perry, came in through the radio. "We have your buddy. We have your buddy and we'll trade him for the captain." Not realizing the other problem in stock for them, the pirates opted to collect the 30 grand on offer by Captain Phillips and save their leader. or so everyone thought at the time. After the captain handed them the money, they agreed to release him in exchange for their leader. By 7 p.m., they were ready to leave. Just then, they realized another obstacle could jeopardize their escape. The Maersk Alabama crew had destroyed their skiff. Thanks to the ingenuity of the crew members, the pirates were trapped on the vessel with no way to escape. After some negotiations and intense rounds of dialogue, the crew agreed to let them leave with one of their lifeboats, an enclosed bright orange craft measuring 25 feet in length and 10 feet in height. Then, it was time for the exchange. They were supposed to let Phillips go after their leader was on board the lifeboat, but they had other plans. As soon as Phillips boarded the boat, they sped off. "What about the deal?" Phillips asked, shocked. "No deal," one of the pirates replied. A change of plans. Now, Phillips was a hostage of the pirates who were speeding off the Maersk Alabama. Luckily, he had bought enough time for the U.S. Navy to arrive on the scene. Also en route was a guided missile destroyer, the USS Bainbridge, alongside the USS Halliburton, which carried 2 SH-60B helicopters and surveillance equipment. On April 9, 2009, a day after the hijack, the USS Bainbridge arrived at the location. The captain was still in captivity, and there looked to be no way out. It quickly escalated into a standoff between the USS Bainbridge and the pirates. By now, Captain Phillips realized the danger he was in after the pirates pummeled him repeatedly. So, he started looking for an opportunity to escape. On the 10th of April, a rare opportunity popped up, and the captain took it. He jumped into the sea and swam half a mile towards the Maersk Alabama, but the bright moon gave him away. The pirates spotted him and recaptured him. Furious at the near escape, the pirates stopped talking much apart from the occasional arguments they had. At one point, they tied the captain to the middle of the lifeboat until he stopped feeling his limbs. Then came complete silence. On the 11th of April, the SEAL Team 6, an elite team that combated terrorism, joined the scene, armed with specialized firearms like .30 caliber sniper rifles. This team was the same that eliminated the threat posed by Osama bin Laden 2 years after this incident in Operation Neptune Spear. When the SEAL Team 6 arrived, the pirates were already low on supplies and were desperate for a way out. They demanded a $2 million ransom for Phillips's release. This was their mode of operation, and they've gotten large sums of money through the same means. With a ransom looking unlikely, they started looking for a way out. With the lifeboat now low on fuel, they allowed the Navy to attach a tow cable to their lifeboat, thinking it would help them stay afloat, but the Navy saw an opportunity to rescue the captain. They pulled the lifeboat closer to the USS Bainbridge, drawing the pirates within sniper range. The Somali pirates started drifting towards shore, hoping to find an escape route, but the Navy maintained a reasonable distance. The Maersk Alabama was the 6th ship to come under attack within a week in the region. So the Navy was determined to see this one to a successful end. While the pirates hoped for a big payday, the Navy had only one thing in mind. All that was left was a signal. A brutal payment. Suddenly, one of the pirates grew jumpy and pointed an AK-47 at Captain Phillips. That was the signal the Navy waited for. In a show of expertise, 3 snipers fired simultaneously at the pirates, killing them on the spot. The 3 pirates who kidnapped the captain had died, leaving behind their leader, Muse, who had earlier been captured by the Maersk Alabama crew. The captain was finally free to leave, but first, he received medical treatment on the USS Bainbridge. Muse surrendered to the Navy, was taken aboard the USS Bainbridge, and offered medical treatment. Then, he spent some time on the USS Boxer's brig before being taken to the United States, where he would answer for his crimes. The bodies of his 3 deceased buddies were passed on to the authorities in Somalia. At the trial, Muse's legal team argued that he was a juvenile of 15 or 16 at the time of the attack, but the court refused this position. Muse finally confessed to being 18 at the time and was sentenced in February 2011 to 33 years and 9 months in prison. Before the judgment, Captain Phillips narrated his side of the story, detailing the events of the day and the excruciating ordeal he passed through at the hands of his captors. Everything was contained in his book, A Captain's Duty. The book was adapted 3 years later into a movie titled Captain Phillips, featuring veteran actor Tom Hanks as the captain. The Danish shipping company, Maersk Line, owned Maersk Alabama at the time. On their part, they decided to uphold the legacy of the incident by donating the lifeboat where Captain Phillips was held hostage to a Navy museum in Fort Pierce, Florida, the National Navy UDT SEAL Museum. The shape was acquired by Element Ship Management SA, who renamed it MV Tigra. Deja vu? The ship is still in active service as of 2025, and Maersk Line is still a powerhouse as far as global shipping is concerned. Founded in 1928, it is the world's second largest container shipping company, operating over 700 vessels and employing more than 100,000 people. One of their vessels, the Maersk Virginia, also suffered a similar fate barely 2 months after Maersk Alabama was hijacked. On May 22, 2009, Maersk Virginia was navigating a Somali piracy trouble zone, the Gulf of Aden, when a group of pirates approached. As the pirates prepared to attack, the crew aboard the Maersk Virginia had already sent out calls for help. The United States Navy was not in the vicinity this time. Instead, it was the Royal Canadian Navy that rushed to their rescue. Within minutes, they had deployed helicopters in the air, with help arriving from their Italian counterparts shortly after. Seeing the show of force, the pirates quickly surrendered their weapons and abandoned their skiffs. Back at home, tensions were arising about the lack of adequate security for sailors and their ships, but the pirates continued attacking ships. A year later, in April 2010, they attempted to hijack the USS Ashland, but quickly met their Waterloo. Before that, they had targeted other military vessels, including USS Nicholas, USS Farragut, and USS McFall. Meanwhile, on the 10th of April, the USS Ashland was sailing routinely in the Gulf of Aden. 6 pirates got on their skiff and approached the vessel. As they got near, they fired shots, but the Ashland returned the favor with superior fire that set the pirate skiff on fire. They jumped into the water before they were captured. The struggle against the pirates continues, and in December 2023, Somali pirates pulled off the first successful vessel hijacking in 6 years. On March 17, 2024, Indian naval commandos took back control of the ship, arresting 35 Somali pirates in the process. But how did the powerful pirates of Somalia rise? Here it is. Somalia, located in the Horn of Africa, started experiencing widespread piracy off its coast in the early 1990s. It started as a self-defense movement against outsiders, but has transformed into a front for criminals who hijack ships and vessels, with a concentration in the Gulf of Aden, Guardafui Channel, and Somali Sea. According to Oceans Beyond Privacy, a global trade loss between $6.6 and $6.9 billion can be attributed to the activities of Somali hijackers. Locally, the pirates refer to themselves as the People's Coast Guard, or Saviors of the Sea, translated as Bada Dinta Bada in Somali. The name could just be because they're arrogant and misguided opportunists, or maybe it's how they justify hijacking ships and demanding millions in ransom. The name could also be linked to how they began operations. Somali waters are renowned for their high supply of fisheries, and locals have relied on them for decades as a source of food and income. With the Somali fishing industry's small size and lack of proper development, foreign vessels have taken advantage, often intruding on their waters to compromise sustainability. Hence, artisanal fishers in Somalia considered the alien vessels as threats to their livelihood. These foreigners don't just compete with them for fish, but they also damage fishing habitats through trawling and undermine local coastal communities through their other activities. However, things took a dramatic turn in 1991 when armed opposition groups wrestled control of the country from the then president, Siad Barre. The following year, Somalia was officially designated as a failed state, with significant conflicts that continued for 2 decades. Suddenly, the already precarious situation of the Somali fishers became significantly worse. The collapse of the Somali government meant free rein for illegal fishing vessels. With an absence of government policing and the disbanding of the Somali Navy between 1990 and 1991, large foreign fishers swooped in to take advantage. They brought substantial fishing vessels, operated bottom trawling, and restricted the activities of the locals. Some groups also used it as an opportunity to dump nuclear and other toxic wastes into Somali waters, negatively impacting the environment and leading to the death of children in the communities. Having nowhere else to turn, the locals responded by establishing armed groups to help them drive away the perceived invaders. However, it didn't take long before these groups resorted to fighting for something else: their pockets. Covering the waters on small motorized boats and skiffs capable of reaching a speed of 25 knots, the Somali pirates would ambush and attack vessels, capturing the crew members for ransom. After a while, they took over bigger ships and incorporated them into their operations. Seeing the lucrative opportunities that arise from demanding ransom payments, these pirates have since turned their attention to international shipping. Now, they attack non-fishing commercial vessels, but this does not always turn out to be what they expect. As the fight against piracy continues, revisiting the incidents of the past and the bravery with which they were overcome reminds us of the great work sailors, naval officers, and others do to curb the menace. Hopefully, it will be eradicated soon. If you've enjoyed this video, check similar ones on our channel. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share all your thoughts in the comments below.